What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. So we're trying a very different video today. Today, I'm going to rank my biggest snubs at this year's Academy Awards. We're talking people and movies and whatever it is, I'm going to include it on this list. This is a personal list, so when I'm giving you guys my top 10, they're basically what is the order that I get the angriest when I think about who got left off of this year's Oscar ballot. And obviously, I'm going to miss a couple, so that's why I have you all here. Be sure to comment your thoughts down below. What is your biggest Oscar snub? Who got left off that actually had a chance of getting nominated? That's what I classify as a snub. Sure, there are those films and actors that we wanted to get in, but there was no talk. They didn't get nominated for anything else. No one was pushing it for an award the way that us, the fans, were. Don't get me wrong, I love some of those movies and some of those actors, but I try to include in my top 10 actual snubs, people, movies that have been a part of the conversation for quite some time and just did not get in. Now, within my honorable mentions, I'll mention a few of those, absolutely, and that's what we're talking about first here today. If you guys enjoy these kinds of Oscar award videos, leave your recommendations down below for what ideas you guys have for videos like this, and be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Okay, so first, we're going to talk honorable mentions, things that I thought genuinely got snubbed, and we'll throw in some personal opinions in here as well. So I do want to start out with Shia LaBeouf for both of his roles this year. Peanut Butter Falcon, yes, which is possibly a film that I even prefer over Honey Boy, but both of these movies are fantastic. I believe Honey Boy is the role that he should have been at least considered a bit more for. He was so good, distinct in that film, maybe even more so than some of the supporting actors who got nominated. Lupita Nyong'o, for us, she barely missed the cut for my top 10. I genuinely enjoyed her in this movie. If it wasn't for another actress, she probably would have been in there. And I do want to throw this out there. I know this isn't an actual snub in terms of Best Picture, and a lot of people will argue otherwise, but let's face it, guys, Avengers Endgame has not been in the conversation for quite some time, just because there have been so many wonderful movies to come out this year, but I did want to throw it in because I enjoy the movie. I think it's a lot of fun. It really is the end of an era, and we've seen in 2019 franchises, television or in the theater, that have come to an end and maybe didn't execute in the best way. So the fact that Avengers, at least a lot of people believe that they did it in the right way, is pretty cool. Also, Us for Best Score. I thought the score was fantastic. I already mentioned Honey Boy, but I think the movie as a whole should have been talked about more. Glasgow, the song from Wild Rose, not getting in for songs kind of confused me. Apollo 11, one of my favorite documentaries of last year, very surprised. Song Kang-ho, who was incredible in Parasite. I know it's not looked at as a film that should be based upon the acting, but hey, you can't deny the presence of that actor and really everyone in that movie. Jennifer Lopez did not make my top 10, but in my opinion, she deserved to at least get more recognition than she got. And then Eddie Murphy. Dolomite Is My Name. I know he kind of fell off towards the end there, and it wasn't as much of a chance, but I still want to talk about him because he made that movie awesome. Eddie Murphy really is back, and that movie itself is so much fun. Coming in at number 10 for me is someone who is not as much of a snub as the ones above it. I don't think he had as high of a chance to get in, but he deserves to be mentioned, and that is Christian Bale in Ford v. Ferrari. You could also throw Matt Damon in that category. I think the issue here is the fact that he went for lead when that category was just so stacked this year between he and Matt Damon. It really is hard to determine who gave the better performance. I would probably argue Christian Bale, but his name was being thrown out far more than Matt Damon's, and that's why I believe his name is the real snub here. This is a film that's going to be looked at as a really great, crowd-pleasing, fun time. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, but not many are going to look at it for the acting prowess, right? How good everyone was in the film, but I don't think that should be the case. Christian Bale dominated every ounce of his screen time, and he gave off that emotion that he needed to the relationship with his son, and Matt Damon's character as well, man. So good in the film, and he deserves to be on my personal list. Next up, I'm actually putting the director category at number 9 in general, just because there are so many names that we could throw out there. And this isn't me taking one out of the director's category and replacing them with this person. This is just me saying, hey, I mean, there were a lot of good directors, and maybe some of them got snubbed. So I want to bring up those names and just kind of give one more round of appreciation for everyone who directed a great movie, and even the directors that got in. I'm not arguing who got in the category, but overall, there were just so many. So Greta Gerwig, obviously, for Little Women, I think what she did for that film, a movie that a lot of people did not think was going to work as well as it did. Greta, why did you pick Little Women? Well, we see that on screen and how happy and joyful and wonderful that film was. Little Wong, one of my personal favorite directors of the entire year. The Farewell is a film that wasn't looked at all the way around, but when you're talking direction from that film, I mean, it's obviously going overlooked in general, but Lulu Wong just dominated that film. Taika Waititi, who's now being looked at for Star Wars. Why is that? Because he's done it with the small films, he's done it with the big films, and now he has an Oscar-nominated, Best Picture-nominated movie. Obviously, he killed it with that film. And Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story, some of the most beautiful and gorgeous direction I've seen all year, and what he does with his actors is incredible. So overall, a stacked category. Next up is Zhao Shuzhen from The Farewell, a film that will keep getting brought up. This is one of my personal favorite supporting performances of the entire year. She's playing the grandmother who is dying throughout the entire film. It's not a spoiler, it's the point of the movie, but her heartwarming nature, the way that she interacts with her family, whether it's the slap on the wrist when they deserve it, or it's, hey, we're all here, we should have fun, we should celebrate it, we're here for what she thinks is this wedding, but we're actually here for me. That's what she doesn't know, that's what she deserves to know, and the back and forth, and just the showcase of culture was wonderful, a lot of it through her character in that film, so it's a shame that she didn't get in. One of my personal favorites of the entire year. Another one of my favorites that I thought wasn't even going to get the recognition about halfway through the year, and then his name started to get brought up more, and the Golden Globes win, and certain other wins, and then the BAFTAs, and I'm just like, oh, Taron Egerton, he's going to get that 5th spot, and I didn't even think that a couple of weeks ago, and people were saying it in the comments, and then he gets that next win, and I'm just like, all right, I got to put him in that 5th slot. Sorry, Adam Sandler, but it's just looking like he's going to get in, and he didn't, and I was shocked. This is probably one of the biggest snubs in terms of what everyone thought, not necessarily what I thought, but Taron Egerton, I couldn't believe he didn't take that 5th slot, and he somewhat deserves it because what he did with Elton John, I mean, he was magnificent, and it's so strange that Rami Malek could get nominated for Bohemian Rhapsody last year and win, and Taron, who does something very similar with a movie that most people enjoyed, maybe just as much, maybe more than Bohemian Rhapsody, and he doesn't get in. I'm just like, who's voting? Just it's baffling for me. It's baffling, but he deserves this spot on my list. This is somewhat of a personal choice, but I've heard so many people call his name as of late. Scott Mance is one. Scott Mance, the Mance Man. Oh, God, I love Scott Mance. Saw it on Twitter the other day. He was talking about it. Alan Silvestri for Avengers Endgame in the Best Score category. Why? Why? And I know Us was probably the first out, not Endgame, but Endgame was most likely up there for a lot of people. I just don't really understand it. Silvestri has never been nominated for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I don't get it. 10 years from now, I don't think we're going to be humming or playing in our heads some of these other scores that were nominated for. And I'm not saying they're bad. You ask me what I take out, I don't know. I'm rooting for either 1917 or Joker to win this category, but Avengers Endgame deserves to be in there because it's going to be iconic. It's going to last generations. It's probably going to come back. I would say give him the nomination because it's one of his last, but no, he'll probably be back in the MCU. I hope so anyways, but man, oh man, I can't believe this score. I'm still playing Portals in my head right now, and it's more memorable than, I'm not going to say it. And then we come to the man who, is probably less of a snub now than he was a couple of months back. But I'll tell you, when I first saw The Irishman, I was convinced De Niro was the first or second guy in. Convinced. Well, maybe the second or third guy. But I could not believe De Niro after kind of carrying the movie on his back. I'm not saying he has the best performance in the film. That's easy to argue for Pesci and Pacino. In terms of screen time and what it means for this character and the fact that it's his story, everyone else gets in. Scorsese, the film itself, Pesci, Pacino, and then De Niro is stuck on the sidelines, and I don't get it. And like I said, talk semi-died down as of late, but still, you have to look at Robert De Niro as somewhat of a snub, and personally, he's this high up on my list, and someone else who is this high up on my list that no one, to a lot of people, this is probably not a quote-unquote snub, But after going back and watching The Lighthouse a couple of nights ago, I just don't see how people don't look at Willem Dafoe and then look at some of the other people nominated in this category and say, oh yeah, they're better. Because how? Even if you don't like The Lighthouse, how in the world did Dafoe not get the talk that he deserved for this film? I don't understand, man. They went back and pulled the actual language, the terminology, and the verbiage for this character, and he nailed it. The guy is not an actor. He is a sea captain, and he's probably out at sea right now. He time traveled back to the late 1800s, and he's there because he is perfect in this role. Once again, more of a personal choice. I said I'd try to refrain, but you have to bring up Willem Dafoe because my God, so good in this movie. The film is wacky, yes, but it's really well done. Pattinson, you could throw in that name as well. The guy killed it, but Willem Dafoe, come on, man. Coming in at number 3 is Aquafina. I don't want to stay on this long because my blood will begin to boil. I can't believe she did not make it in. I can't believe it. So subtle in the movie, so wonderful in terms of her relationships and the chemistry with her and her grandmother, one of the best duos of the entire year with her and Zhao Shuzhen. I'm baffled that she was overlooked. And in general, we'll get into it a little bit later, but man, oh man, Aquafina just gave one of the clear, in my opinion, clear best performances, if you want to categorize it, female performances of the entire year. I would put her over multiple people in that category. I won't say who, but man, Aquafina, say what you will about the film, she is just wonderful in this film. And talking about blood boiling, oh, buddy. Number 2, The Sandman, Adam Sandler. Oh, how do you not put the Sandman in this 5th slot? And for me, he would be higher than the 5th slot, but he was most likely going to get in over a Jonathan Pryce or an Antonio Banderas. Jonathan Pryce. He's not bad in The Two Popes. He's one of my favorite performances of the year, but I would put him in, the top 10, the top 15, not the top 5. What Adam Sandler did, and I think this is why it makes him more worthy, in my opinion, is he revolutionized his career. Now, he's saying that since he didn't get nominated, he's going to make the worst movie of all time. You know what? Do it, Adam. You deserve to do what you want to do. But he went outside of his comfort zone, outside of his box, and delivered a performance so just, and yet you're not supposed to like the guy. He's a bad guy that keeps digging himself a deeper hole, and that's why a lot of audience members didn't like the movie, because they're like, well, I don't like this guy. Why do I like the movie? And it didn't end in a nice, happy way, and it wasn't Jack and Jill. Why isn't this Jack and Jill? I think that's what a lot of people wanted, was Jack and Jill. But Adam Sandler, and again, say what you will about this film, Adam Sandler just did a complete 180 with his career. A complete 180. And maybe now he gets looked upon as an actor, as opposed to just a comedian who hires his friends for films. And he has earned the right to do that. He is a guy that's done a lot of great things in his career, and he has a lot of money, and he wants to do that great. But every now and then, when he wants to bring in an Oscar performance, we see that he can do that with something like Punch Drunk Love, or now Uncut Gems. And to overlook that for his career, almost like what Eddie Murphy did for Dolomite, but in that film, I would say Eddie Murphy was more Eddie Murphy. In this film, Adam Sandler is not Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler is Howard. And to overlook that is, for me, a travesty. Doesn't have to be the case for everyone, but that's why this is my number 2. And I guess a lot of these things could fall in this category, but for my number 1, I kind of cheated and clumped a lot of things together. So my number 1 is A24 in general, the studio. And if you guys don't know who A24 is, they're one of the best studios, maybe the best studio right now. And this past year, they put out movies like The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Booksmart, Midsommar, Waves, Uncut Gems, The Lighthouse, and The Farewell. All movies that were completely overlooked at the Academy Awards. All films with their fair share of treasures. Waves, you have some of the best performances I saw all year. Kelvin Harrison Jr., by the way, 2 films that got him awards-worthy consideration. Last Black Man in San Francisco, or possibly cinematography for that movie. Sure, The Lighthouse got in for cinematography, but that's it. Florence Pugh and Midsommar, one of the best performances I saw all year, and some of the best cinematography. And then the two that I want to argue for is Uncut Gems, which got nothing. not even sound design, sound editing, sound mixing. I believe it deserved something in those categories. And then The Farewell, which is possibly, out of all of those, the most well-crafted, all-around, performance-wise, directing-wise, acting-wise movie, that and Uncut Gems for me, nothing. I find it odd. I find it, it makes sense because the Oscars, a lot of it is about marketing. A lot of it is about how much money are the studios going to invest in getting the names out there and whatnot. And I'm not saying A24 is a broke studio, but they probably don't have as much to invest. Now, they pushed hard for Adam Sandler. They pushed semi-hard, I guess, for The Farewell. And I'm not saying A24 has been overlooked every single year. Moonlight, obviously, won Best Picture. That's an A24 film. But this year, talking just 2019, nothing. Well, one or two, but that's about it. And for me, that's a big bummer, and for me, that is my number one. But we have talked a lot. I'm almost out of breath. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was a lot of fun. I love talking Oscars, and if you guys want me to, tonight, the SAG Awards are premiering. If you'd like a video, maybe talking about the winners and losers, let me know in the comments down below, and I will do that. And as always, if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Okay, this is all from me. I'll be back very soon with another video, and I'll see y'all later.